Now what is a work in progress? Tremendous amount of work in progress. If you look at the report card of 100 days, wonderfully prepared document by Information and Broadcasting Ministry, one must flip through it and you will see the amount of initiatives, both small and big, which are there. And if even 30 to 40% of those initiatives see actual implementation in the next 4 to 5 years, India will have to bounce back. India must get back to the 7.5 to 8% growth trajectory and therefore the $5 trillion economy. So the point which I am making is that these are some of the illustrative aspects of work in progress. And the work in progress, if you want to do the GST restructuring, has to be done. You cannot have the situation of 28% GST rates. Nowhere in the world you have that kind of a GST rate. Most common GST rate is around 15 to 18% back. So therefore we have to have what was known as the tax neutral GST rate, and the tax neutral or revenue neutral GST rate. That revenue neutral GST rate was supposed to be 16 to 18%. That means every single commodity has to be charged around 16 to 18%, and you will get the same amount of revenue which the government used to generate from the GST collections earlier. But we came out with a four-fold or a five-fold GST structure, which was completely not in keeping with the ideal system of a GST in this country. So therefore, a lot of things have to be done on GST. Direct tax code, I believe, has been now given a go back. I think probably you would know better on this. Disinvestment and privatization, you still have issues about various PSUs which are required to completely disinvested. Many calculations have been made about the amount of the land which public sector enterprises and departments are having in their command and the economic value of land. So a lot of things in terms of IBC and other labor reforms, land reforms, etc. So, let's look beyond, and that's where 2019 2019-20 should be considered as a year gone. You should not expect more than 6% growth. If at all, in the second half there is a stronger recovery. But it's not a bad 6% growth. It's still a good growth in the international context. Of course, there are issues about how the growth has been calculated, and there are a lot of disputes about the methodology and other aspects. We are not going into details of those. But now we're going beyond 2019 with the legacy of this year's wonderful changes which have been made, particularly in the last 2 months. We have something to feel very happy about, and that is the optimistic or the positive side of what it holds for us. Look at this. I think to have this kind of advantage for the economy, advantage in terms of the inflation under control, very much 3.5% CPI inflation. You have the fiscal discipline will get slightly affected by what has been done in the post-budget scenario. Your external stability to a great extent. Only thing which can cause a disruption in this is the oil prices. But luckily the crude oil prices have not crossed beyond $71, $72 a barrel. It has in fact started receding. There is a plenty of oil which is having in the inventory form. Global growth rate has slowed down, therefore the global consumption of the oil is also slowing down. Then there is the forex reserves which are fairly good. It supports 9 to 10 months of the import requirements in the country. And there are many other positive effects on the external side of the economy. And we have a surplus liquidity in the foreign. require, and I think this was a slide which was done prior to what happened yesterday, but still I believe that there were two dimensions I mentioned. One was a supply side response, another was a demand side response. There can still be an opportunity to spend 0.2 to 0.3% of the GDP for infusing direct benefits in a variety of ways. The Manrega kind of schemes and various other jobless support schemes, support schemes for the unemployed or the jobless. That will release considerable amount of purchasing power and which will be helpful. So what was being said by the Paul Krugman in terms of the what the global economy requires, he said that global economy doesn't require Germany kind of an approach. Germany is extremely conservative with respect to its fiscal management, and therefore it does everything on the monetary side with a 1% or below interest rates, but is unwilling to sacrifice its strong fiscal discipline. But what Krugman says, there is a ultimate limit to which the interest rates can come down, and the ultimate limit to which the central banking institution can undertake liquidity infusion. So what is required to be done is by the government. Start spending. That was a typical tension approach to management of the economic recession. Although Germany will have a major problem, its growth rate is already struggling around 1.5 to 1.7%, and the entire Europe is having similar kind of a situation. And the US also has got this problem. US economic growth is also sinking to about 2.2 or 2.5%. So therefore, his suggestion has been undertake fiscal expansion. Now, where does the fiscal expansion go? This particular aspect is in terms of GST, not to a great extent, but in the corporate tax side. But this is the market where much more can be done in terms of streamlining the spendings of the infrastructure and the social sector. And Sitaraman has been saying that she's been pushing all her ministries to upfront or upload, what is it called? Front load all her expenditure on the public sector. So that's where the overall situation can be improved upon through the major thrust. Now look at what the businesses are doing. You must have a trust in the basic resilience of the economy. We have been saying it that economic bounces back, and there is a basic resilience. And the last book which we had talked about reforms, recovery, reforms, and resilience. So the resilience is the very critical part of the economy, and there is a basic intrinsic resilience. And that intrinsic resilience comes from certain intrinsic characteristics of this economy. And that one has to take care of. And we have an overall macroeconomic balance in terms of fiscal stability, external stability, inflation control, financial stability is getting gradually established with the RBI efforts. And we still have a high domestic savings ratio. We have a savings ratio currently which is much lower than what it used to be about 5 or 7 years ago, but it is still 29 to 30%. Now you have a savings ratio of 36%. Now imagine a situation when a country has this kind of a savings ratio. China had a savings ratio, domestic savings ratio of more than 40%. In fact, it was at one time 45%. Now that's the real miracle, and that's brought about the miracle economic growth of 10% consistently, almost 9 to 10%, consistently for 25 to 30 years. Our savings ratio has shrunk from 35-36% to about 29-30%. What it does in terms of the damage to the overall economic growth. when the savings ratio declines by roughly about 4% to 5%, economic growth is lost by 1%. So if you had a same level of savings ratio of 35-36%, you would have been capable of 7.5 to 8% growth rate without much effort. Now you have to do much effort to improve your productivity, efficiency of capital, to get a similar kind of a growth from a falling savings ratio. 29%, 30% savings ratio is good, but not good if you want to have sustainable 8.5 to 9% growth. And we had that kind of a growth rate at least for 3 or 4 years during 2003-04 to 2007-08. So it is not some kind of a dream-like sequence. It is a reality that we are capable of higher growth. So what the businesses have to look at are the underpinnings of this transformation changes and growth. One is the millennial aspirations, and this is a word which is very crudely being used. Now millennial aspirations, if you look at the overall demography of this country, the structure of this country, we are familiar with the notion that India has a demographic dividend advantage. Between 50 to 65 years, population is roughly about 65%. Now all 65% do not belong to the millennial category. The millennial category is supposed to be 25 to 35 years age, which is 1985 born or thereafter. Now this millennial category somehow giving an impression that they move in a certain kind of a direction, and that direction, as I mentioned even earlier, was that their behavioral pattern is changing. Behavioral pattern is changing in terms of their consumption habits, investment habits, and even with respect to changing of the jobs, employment habits. They want to be more aspirational, get into the entrepreneurship and so on. So that's a class which is going to drive the overall economic growth. And that's a positive side which many of the businesses must look at, and look at the changes which are taking place in the aspiration levels and the behavioral levels of the millennials. And here comes the importance of data analytics and the big data analytics. And that big data analytics will be normally helped by the technology-driven changes. Whether it is I think one has also at G5, what is it called G5? Telecom sector. I think that will add tremendous dimensions to the disruptions which technology will bring. The second important point is about urbanization. Now, India is right now about 37% urbanized. A scenario wherein India will become 50% urbanized is somewhere around 2040 or 2045. When the transition movement takes place by way of migration for better opportunities, there are growth impulses which are transmitted from the rural sector to the urban sector. The average per capita income of the urbans is 2.6 times the average per capita income of the rurals. For a variety of reasons, productivity gains, better employment opportunities, agriculture is not such a major thing in terms of the productivity and income generating activities. So that's the reason. So urbanization is a powerful driver of economic growth, and it has been seen across the globe. And India is moving rapidly towards urbanization. You look at 100 smart cities which the Modi government has been talking about since last year, from its previous Modi 1.0 government. Now there are many things which he has talked about in terms of how urbanization can be done. The smart cities, 100 smart cities in this country can be made, which of course is a pipe dream at this stage, but it can happen in a matter of 10 years. And you will have a major transformation. Technology, an area about which I am not familiar with, but I know the kind of disruption which I have done because of the technology. And we ourselves are experiencing in the last 25 years, from the situation of mainframe computers to the current situation. And I think Shenoy can probably speak on this. Genomics and artificial intelligence. Then there is a connectivity. So there is a connectivity which is again brought about by the transport sector, telecom sector, that brings about easier transmission of various multiple ideas across the country, across the various sectors. Even the remotest villages can get advantage of it. So that is the kind of change which is taking place. And there is a new financial paradigm. And that's the financial paradigm which is associated with falling interest rates. It's a global phenomenon. There was at one time people were saying inflation is dead. The books were being written about 15-20 years back. Of course inflation is not dead, but it's still alive. But it is much lower than what it used to prevail. Across the world also inflation is to be very high. In India we had experienced double-digit inflation in number of years. So that situation in the last 5 years you see progressively inflation is coming down. And for a number of reasons. Because of productivity gains and regulatory changes, easy movements of basic logistics management. So all these is contributing towards better inflation management. Because of that, low interest rates will take place. And if the fiscal discipline is really being rigorously implemented, the crowding out effect which used to happen through the governmental route will be much less in the years to come. So therefore, you have the advantage in terms of what happened. And last, the competitive mechanism. You look at every single major state in the last 5 years or 10 years, they are getting charged by what needs to be done. Why Maharashtra should progress faster? Why should Gujarat progress faster? They themselves are having various investments conferences. Invest in Rajasthan, invest in Madhya Pradesh, those kinds of global events, so as to attract not only domestic investors but the politicians. And people have realized that we cannot be playing the kind of a game which Mamta did in the early part of her career, driving away the investors, including Tata's moved out of the Singur. So this is the kind of a change which is driving the overall economic growth. And therefore the opportunities have to be looked at not at your local sectors, but opportunities across the states. And the connectivity across the states is going to improve through the wonderful road development program which is also on. So what the businesses have to do? Obviously the business has to change the mindset. Everybody believes that I think the economy is going down, what do I do? I am not getting money from the banks. My suppliers, purchasers are not giving me the money. Suppliers are shutting me out because I have not paid. So I think that kind of mindset, and therefore I need to depend on the government. I think is it I'm running out of that. Yeah. So all these are the kind of changes which are need to be looked at. Okay. You need to revisit your existing business, identify the core competency. I mean, this is a traditional way of looking at a problem, and we did it in Tata's number of times. The first Tata strategic plan came in mid-80s, 1985. It had to be changed after the economic reforms. It had to be changed again after 2000. So, every 3 to 5 years, you have to change this economic plan, your strategic plan, your business plan, keeping in view what is your core competence. And the core competence undergoes a change. It may not be technical, it can be, the next important point is that you have to enable customer-centric activities. You have to be selling the service and the experience. It's a business of experience. I think people are talking about experience of Ola, Uber. People are talking about experience of Airbnb rather than staying in the hotels. So those are different kind of experience. Experience of my own son-in-law saffron stays, staying in different locations rather than staying in a hotel. So those experiences are going to be more significant. It is very powerful in the service sector. It is also going to be powerful in the manufacturing sector. When you sell a product, you are not selling a product. Tata used to make a lot of mistakes in trying to sell their passenger cars. They were selling the passenger cars, but they had to sell the experience. So the experience was the one which requires to be looked at more carefully, and that's where the future lies for the various kinds of business. Decision making, and I think in this particular area, particularly for the small and medium enterprises belonging to the Saraswats, I think the management of the data system, the big data analysis based on that, probably is an opportunity waiting to be used or explored. Many chambers of commerce will have to do this. They cannot do the traditional kind of chamber activity. So that's the reason why specifically we brought this. We are thinking in terms of cluster businesses, ecosystems engaged in the commercial and technology enterprises. If you work individually, probably you will have a problem. But if you create a cluster of, say, auto components cluster, it could be many other kinds of garments business clusters. It could be textile machinery equipment cluster. So the clusters create the kind of ecosystem around which many things can be exchanged across by various players. So you have to be nimble and flexible, I think, needless to say anything more than that. And obviously, ultimately, it is the cash which is the key. So all businesses have this problem. I have been listening to this recessionary sort of conferences and debates endless number of times from 66, 68 onwards. And every time, some of the things which were commonly being said, manage your cash. Cash is the king. You cannot allow cash to be misused. So therefore, one has to take care of the liquidity, cash, working capital management. And that's the critical area of business. Let me conclude. I think it has been probably quite a long time which I have taken. I never realized that I'm spending so much of time on this. But I got mixed up with a number of things which came to my mind as I was going along. The point which I'm making is that, look, I think India is in difficulty. It's in tough times. There's no doubt about it. India will wriggle out of this. A lot of positive policy changes are being done, which are going to have the positive impact. Probably it takes its own time in terms of what is being done to the consumption side or the investment side. We as businesses, many of you would have a lot of businesses, small and medium-sized enterprises, professional activities. We need to be looking at the resilience of the economy. We need to think in terms of what we can convert the adversity into an opportunity. And look, I think the world is looking at India as a bright spot, irrespective of what will happen in the year 2019-20. And that bright spot is an opportunity for us only for the next 15 to 20 years. If you don't take this, then you are in what is called the middle income trap. In fact, we are not even in the middle income. And if we get into that trap, then it's so difficult to get out of it. The advantage of it, next 15 to 20 years, the millennials' aspirations will collapse. They're out. So if we do not take the advantage of that, if we do not generate demographic dividend in the next 15 to 20 years, then we are done for. So therefore,